Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie. Tonight I had watched Emmie's video on all of her classics on her bookshelf, and I wanted to do my own video going through all my classics that I've read and haven't read, and I want to start with the Penguin classics and then go from there to books like the Oxford classics and the vintage classics, the Barnes & Noble ones, and just show them all to you and point out which ones I've read. And first, we're going to start, like I said, we're going to start with the Penguins, and then we will see where we go with next. So this will be done in multiple parts. So first we have my Indian classics. First we have all 3 volumes of the Arabian Nights. I remember seeing these at Gibbons, and I wasn't sure if they would still be there when I saw them on Instagram, but they were, all 3 of them, and I was very happy that all 3 of them were there. And I bought them thinking, well, why would someone give these up? But this just means I have them now, so I haven't read them, and I really should start reading them, because they are just short stories, so it shouldn't take that long. But I mean, it will still take long, but I don't expect to get the whole thing done, all 3 volumes done within a few weeks, but get a good start on it. And then the other one was a more recent acquisition, and that is Ramayana. This is a shortened version of it, of the original epic poem. I know that there is a version of the whole thing on Project Gutenberg, but I want a physical copy of it, and I know this is not the whole thing, but, it's a start, and I don't want to read it on the screen, and yeah, maybe I could print it, but probably, I don't know if I could print it or not, but anyway, so I thought this would be a good starting point, and even the person who mentioned that on our reviews, that this is a good starting place anyway, it's not the whole thing. I do have another modern retelling of Ramayana. It's a different author that, in different translation that I wanted to read as well. That's why I wanted to try to get as close as I could to the original version of the epic poem, so I got this one. Okay, and then we have 2 Japanese classics. This is The Pillow Book. I'm not going to even bother trying to pronounce the name. It's translated by Meredith McKinney. This is one that Terry got me for Christmas last year, and yes, I'm sorry, Terry, if you do decide to watch this video. I have not read it yet. I feel really bad, but I haven't. Basically, if you have read The Tale of Genji, I think this is basically the same idea, but it's a woman's perspective, and it's probably less focused on the romance. It's probably more focused on a lot more focused on the lifestyle. Although, I have only read an abridged version of The Tale of Genji, so, but yeah, the lifestyle of the nobility. And then the other Asian Japanese book was a real recent, as in yesterday as in from today when I'm filming this evening when I'm filming this, because I'm filming this in the evening. Shanshiro. This is a more modern story about a young man excited to go to Tokyo to study there in the city. He's excited about his academics, the life of being in the city of Tokyo at the time, and, it just sounded really intriguing. It was either this one or another one that was a horror called The Swarm. I can't remember the author. It's a more modern book. And, I decided to get this one because I know The Swarm will always be at Books A Million. I can always get it, and eventually someone would probably give it to Gibbons, and I get it at other places. And this one, I feel like I might not necessarily find anywhere else. And, I mean, I guess I probably could have found it at Thrift Books if I, took a picture and then looked for the title on thriftbooks.com, but I just decided to buy it. And it's not a super long story. It doesn't look super long, so I'm excited to read it. Okay, now we're away from the Asian classics. So now we have, so this is Julius Caesar, which is a Shakespeare play I read my sophomore year. Finally, it's nice to be able to say that I've read one. I remember really enjoying it. It was really fun. At the time, I remember thinking, I wish people put more emphasis on their reading of it, because we read it as a class, and when you would get to the persons, when the teacher would get to each one of us playing a part, I wanted people to get into it a little bit more, but then again, it would be a little hypocritical reading, because I would be too chicken to really get into it, reading this out loud, but I have been meaning to reread this. It's just, like a lot of authors that I've had multiple books of them, I'm like thinking, I feel like I should read some of the books of theirs that I haven't read first before I go back to when I've already read. And I have read some Shakespeare's already, more recently, but I still kind of want to read this. And it's a play, so it's not super long, but this is, if you don't know what this one is about, this is a Shakespeare play about Julius Caesar's is like last week before he gets assassinated, and how Cassius is trying to convince Brutus to join their side, join their cause, and realize that Julius Caesar is a tyrant, and he needs to betray him and kill him, assassinate him. So that's, and I haven't read any plays lately since I read King Lear, and that's been was in 2022 probably when I read King Lear. Okay, and then we have okay, so then I read my I had finally read, so after I read the David McCullough John Adams biography, I finally watched the miniseries that's based off that biography, and I enjoyed it, and I did cry. I cried in that one, so I've been meaning to get to the letters exchanged between John and Abigail Adams, and I haven't. I mean, I've read some of them, but it's been a while since I've read them, and I mean to get back to this because it is letters. It is just letters, and it wouldn't take me as long to read, but it's still a lot of letters. So I mean to get this one, and I've been, I still am thinking about doing that. That reading books on the books that are American Revolution related, like doing kind of an American Revolution theme in July because of 4th of July. Either in the whole of July or up until July 4th. So at the end of June, going into July, possibly. And then the problem, but the problem is it's also Jane Austen July, and I've done that every year. So, I don't know, it's maybe I could just do up until July 4th. The theme, American Revolution theme, but I can't read as much then. So, but anyway, but we will see. And then the other American Revolution thing I've got, is this book from a French author, his perspective on American democracy. His thoughts on our democracy and our system and everything, and sorry, I cannot pronounce it. I don't know any French names. I don't know how to say. I don't know how to pronounce it. But this is a big boy. This is a chunky book. So, and by the way, I do feel like this bookmark. It's called you can see it, the Cat Gatsby, and I think that Emmie would really like that bookmark. I mean, she might already have it, but I think she would really like it if she doesn't have it. Because that's a cute bookmark. And then I have at least a couple other bookmarks like that. So one of the other letters collections that I got is the letters of Vincent van Gogh. So in 2022, my mom and I went to the Van Gogh exhibit in the city, and I've been trying to stick to the one, only buying one book whenever I go to places where the books cost a little bit more than a couple dollars. And because if I go to, the thrift books or like going to Gibbons or when Black Castle was still around, I could get multiple books. But when I go to like Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, getting just one is the best thing. And so I was, I was trying to decide which one because I was thinking when you go there, I should probably stick to one. When like getting books at the bookshop, at the at the museum bookshop, museum souvenir shop, and Mom was like, you know what? This is a special occasion, splurge and get two. So I got this one along with the Van Gogh A Life, so a biography on Van Gogh. And I got this one, The Letters of Vincent van Gogh, as well, and I still have not picked it up. And it's letters. It shouldn't be that hard. I mean, it's not going to take that long, but I just procrastinate these kinds of books. Because I'm like, there's so many books that I haven't read, and it's a lot of choices. I have a lot of options. And, ooh, this is pictures. This has pictures. Oh, I don't know. I thought oh, wait. Dang it, I keep missing it as I flip the pages. Oh, wait. Sorry, I keep seeing, a black and white picture, and I keep missing it. And I did have this whole idea of I would read both of them at the same time, but it hasn't happened, so. I mean, I like to think that maybe doing videos like this will inspire me. Okay, so then we have, I'll show you these three, and again, we actually have two that I've read. So we have the Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. I read this a few years ago, and I've been meaning to reread it. And I admit, I do feel like because it was so popular and kept hearing about it, everyone loved it, and I think I just kind of read it just to be like, join the conversation to say, oh, I read this popular book. Even though I'm not one of those people who automatically jumps on the bandwagon of popular books, sometimes when it comes to classics, I will. And I think it was one of these things where just to say I've read, and I want to reread it, and just take it in more slowly. But there will still always be that undertone of it's a popular book. A lot of people love it. I really wish it did not have that Netflix sticker on it that says inspiration for the Netflix series. It's really annoying because this has been adapted a lot of times, including this Netflix series that's based on it. So maybe I'll reread this in October along with Wuthering Heights. I absolutely love this, and I absolutely love the story. And no, it is not a romance. It is a tragedy. That's the problem I think people have with this one. They assume it's a romance. And to me, if you think this is a romance, then apparently you think toxic relationships are good. Because it is a very toxic relationship. Like, granted, maybe some of these people who love it, like myself, it's more like they know it's toxic, they don't support it, but it is so engaging of a story. It's like, sometimes I wonder for some people, is it hard to tell? I'm like, I think it's like the whole idea of people thinking it's a romance and the people who know it's not a romance blurring together. And it's hard to tell which people realize it's toxic and it's not a romance. But it is a story within a story. It is really good, and I've been meaning to reread it. But again, this is another situation where I have other books by the author that I haven't read yet. Like, I need to read her other book. I think she's the one who wrote The Ten in Wildfell Hall. I need to reread that one. I need to finally read that one, and I do finally have it. But I kind of want to reread this one. So I might reread both those in October. And then finally, so we have Henry James is Princess Casamasima. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And obviously I got this one at Black Castle when it was still around. May it rest in peace. And I actually kind of like this cover. I really like this cover. I like her expression. I think it's so, like, she's like, you're gonna bother me right now. But I've tried reading A Portrait of the Lady, and at the time I was bored, and I want to give Henry James another shot because I know there are people who really like him. So I saw this one, and I got bought it, The Princess Casamasima, and I want to try it. Okay, and then we have... So these are some older penguins. We have... I don't know how to say the author, this historian's name, but this is the history of the Peloponnesian War. And I've been apprehensive about this one because some people say that this one is boring. Now, I don't know if that's just because they're not into ancient classics, or, books about war bore them, or, I don't know if I can if all those people, if I can, I don't know for sure if I can trust the judgment of those people. But it's a chunky one, and sometimes it's good just to look at other people's reviews and decide and actually reading them, not just looking at the the ratings, but actually reading the reviews and trying to decide. But it still has not motivated me to get rid of this book, obviously, because I kind of want to look at someone who like Emma Evangeline's channel. She is kind of more knowledgeable of Greek classics, and I want to see, does she like this? Does she think this is a good one? But it's a chunker, so there's another one of those that I think I'm more interested, that I might consider picking up, that I have here in this version. And then, so next I grabbed, so this was a Steve Donahue influence. He did one of his March of the Penguin video on another version of this, and I think it's more of the Black Spine version that he showed on his video. But this is the history of the decline and the fall of the Roman Empire. It is and it's a abridged version, so it's not even the whole thing. So imagine how many volumes Edward Gibbon really wrote, and how big the original is. The whole thing is. I have attempted reading this before, but I think I read it at the wrong time. Like, I read it when I was in the car on the way to visit my sister, and my mom listens to talk radio, so there was a lot of distractions, so I could not concentrate on this book. And it's small print, too. So it was not the best place to read that book. When I'm tired, I'm in the car, I'm not comfortable, and there's, the sound of the radio going on, so I need to read it when I'm here at my house or here at someone else's house and it's quiet and there's not any distractions. But I've always been interested in Rome, so I thought this was a great book to read, Okay, and then we have, so this is one I found out is actually a series of books by Margaret Oliphant, and it was really great. So do I have to buy the other ones first before I get to this one? Do I have to buy some other ones because it's not the first one? And it was I think it's book number 5, and that's really annoying because I don't know where I'll get them all, and there's no guarantee I'll find it. I might get them on Thrift Books, but then they would take a few days to get here, and then there's other classics I want to read, but then I really want to read this one too, and this is Miss Marjorie Banks, and I might just try to read it anyway, and see, because this looks like potentially one of those series where it's not like something like, you know, Wheel of Time, where you have to read the next book right after. Like, it continues the same story. Like, it could, I wonder if it's maybe one of these stories where it has, you're from different characters' perspectives, and they each have their own story. Kind of like the Barchester series by Trollope, where you could, like, some of them there might be crossover, but it's mostly they're all three of their own individual stories, and they all, yes, there's references to the characters from previous novels, but it won't, like, you won't be confused. I like to believe, I'm wondering if it's one of those series. Hopefully it will be. But there's that. Okay, and then we have George Eliot's The Mill and the Floss. I've only read her book, Middlemarch, which a lot of people say do not start with that one, but I was fine. I enjoyed it. It just took me a while to read it. And I think this kind of does a similar thing to what David Copperfield is to Dickens, where it's kind of autobiographical in its own way. And I'm excited to read this. I think this is a brother and a sister. A story about a brother and sister. But I am excited to read this. I think this is a mass market. So I still have some mass markets. Okay, and then we have, finally, one that I've read. Like, another one that I've read, and that's Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton. And this has a lot of similarities to North and South in its plot. It's about similar themes and similar conflicts. This was her first, I think this was her debut book, her first book. So it's not as long as North and South, although Wives and Daughters, I think, is her longest novel, even though that one's unfinished. But I really like this. I had a good time with this one, and I kind of like that this one included a bit of a murder mystery. Like, that made it a little bit really exciting. And I enjoyed this. And I don't want to say more because I already talked about in my wrap up for May. And then we have, so this is another classic that I debate about picking up, but it looks like it's a play, and it's actually plays. So, I keep thinking about reading it. Okay, last time I filmed this, I tried to say the title list, but I'm not going to even bother. But this is Aristophanes. And again, I'm going to check someone that I like. So far, Emma Evangeline is the only one that I know is familiar with the Greek classics. So I'm going to see if she talks about any of this on her channel at some point, see if to motivate me to pick them up. But this might be a good place to start because it's shorter and it's plays. So maybe I'll start with that one. But yay, I'm so glad I could say I read this one. Okay, and then we have, let's talk about my cloth bounds. So we have some cloth bound books. So this is War and Peace. Originally I did have a regular paperback version, but I kind of really like these editions. And the problem, people say that if you get your fingers on them, they eventually fade and all that. But you know what? I can't have multiple copies, and I really like these, so I'm slowly just getting these. Not all my classics are being this edition, but anyway, this is War and Peace, and I'm watching the 2016 miniseries starring Lily James and Paul Dano. Just to kind of get me motivated to come back. It's really not that hard to read. It's just a long one. I could have bought like a because you guys, last year I went to England in September, and I could have bought the cloth bound ones. And I have seen those. Not cloth bound, the regular, the paperback that's kind of the Penguin English Library ones, which I think are the paperback version of these. And I do have one of those to show you guys in a little bit, but it's not a War and Peace. It's one that I don't have in this version. So I can always switch. But these are, I really like these. And they're so pretty. So I don't care if, you know, I'm messing up as long as it's still intact. And I feel like they're not that hard to read. Russian classics are not that hard to read. So, oh, I forgot to show you that one. I'll show you that one next. Okay, and then here are some other ones. I have Persuasion, and this one, my sister got me this for, I think, my birthday last year. She bought this for me. This copy of Persuasion, and then we have Sense and Sensibility in this version. Sorry, I got like food or something on these, which I know. Oh my god, these nice editions, I got food on it. Which I want to reread these, that one. And then we have the Odyssey, which is the prose version, not an epic poem. I do have the Iliad, but it's in a different version. And I debated about getting the Emily Wilson translation of the Iliad and, you know, buying that one and then donating the one I have. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick to the one I got because it is still a decent translation. And I decided to, you know, because everyone talks about the Emily Wilson translation, how good it is. But it's like, I already bought that one. And I feel, not the Emily Wilson, but the I think it's Robert Fitzgerald translation. I already bought it. I'm like, I feel kind of guilty spending money when I got a perfectly good edition for cheaper than what it costs to buy, you know, the Emily Wilson translation at Books A Million. So I'm sticking with that one. I didn't give it in. I didn't buy that one. Let me see. Who's the translator of this one? I think it says it on there. Okay, so it is actually translated by E.V. Roux. So I guess maybe he's French. And then revised translation is D.C.H. Roux. So I wonder if he's related to the guy, but like his son or something. But anyway, but I did really like this because it was translated like a regular novel. Because I think that really helped make me enjoy it more. Okay, and then I forgot to show you. And then I also have this, the Decameron, which for some reason I was thinking of December when I read this title the first time. And I think this is similar to, it does a similar thing to like Canterbury Tales. We have a group of people sharing stories, and you get their stories. But this is in Italy instead of England. Instead of being medieval, like it is medieval Italy. Like a plague breaks out, so all these people are have to go to this place to hide out and they're stuck there for 10 days because of the plague. And they're all telling stories. So, like I said, I think it's kind of like the Canterbury Tales with the premise. Also, I really like that cover because it looks like a painting. Okay, which I think it is. Okay, and then we have, so here it is, Middlemarch. I've read Middlemarch. I love this. I love the pink, and I love that it's portraits. I absolutely love Middlemarch. It's so pretty. And, it's already kind of fading, but yeah, I like this. I really like this. I like the ribbon bookmarks. And like I said, I can't get 2 copies. And I definitely like this better than the other one because it was a picture of a woman posing like this. Like, it wasn't anything special. Okay, and then we have Bleak House, which so far is still my favorite Dickens book. Again, I've been due for a reread, and I did start reading it, so I've read all those. I can say I've read all these. I forgot I've read, well, except for War and Peace. I read all my clothbounds that I have. Although I have not read it in this edition, I've read them all in paperback editions. Except for the Odyssey. Although Sense and Sensibility, I don't know if I read another edition or not, but which I don't know. The cage must reference something that's said in the book. I'll have to, next time I reread it, I'll have to have a look out for a reference to a cage, a bird in a cage or something. But again, really pretty. Interesting. Like a pink, this darker pink, like this maroon color. I think is really pretty. So, yeah, I really like these editions. I know, like, people talk about clothbound as not being good for reading, and you get your greasy fingers on it and stuff, but anyway. Okay. Now, this is where I have to reach across a little bit. Okay, so more ancient classics. So we have Ovid's Metamorphoses, and this is basically a bunch of short stories that are talking about transformation. And the translation is by David Rayburn. Again, another one that I keep thinking about thinking about picking up, but then, I never do. I need to, watch someone, talk about classics to get me motivated, to get me going, but I have so many options, it's hard to decide which one. And I always get this mixed up with the Kafka story, Metamorphosis, which is the guy turning into the story about the guy turning into a cockroach. And which I wonder if that inspired the movie The Fly. I think that inspired the movie The Fly. But anyway. Yeah, and it's really just short stories. And I should read it. Okay, and then we have another one that I keep meaning to pick up and I never do. This is the Portable Dante, his Divine Comedy, and then it also has Vita, what is it? It has Vita Nuovo. I keep meaning to pick it up, but I never do. Because I'm intimidated. I know it's going to take me a long time. It's going to be a big commitment, so I need to pick it up, finally. I wish I could say I did, but I haven't yet. Okay, and then we have another one, Paradise Lost, another one I keep meaning to pick up. And I think a lot of people prefer this over Pilgrim's Progress. So I need to pick this one up too and get back to it. Again, I've started it. And I know the topic, it's about, the Adam and Eve and the doubt and the fall of Lucifer. So I'm very familiar with all that. So, and I'm actually currently reading, you guys know I'm reading my Bible. I got a new Bible, so, but yeah, I need to come back to this and read it. And then we have one, again, finally we got to one that I've technically read, and that is the Canterbury Tales. I already mentioned the Canterbury Tales when I'm talking about the Decameron. So all you guys know, this group of pilgrims are trying to go to Canterbury, so they decide, the guy leading them is like, let's do a game, and where we all tell all these different stories, and whoever the best story will win money, and we'll treat everybody to drinks or something like that. Unfortunately, Chaucer did not finish it because there were supposed to be stories on the way back where these guys are heading back, but he died before he could write that. And one of my times in college when I took a British literature course in the college around here, we spent time reading Canterbury Tales, and I was kind of bitter about that because there were other stories like, Hamlet which would have been next that I wanted to get to. And we did read Hamlet, but we didn't talk about it. So yeah, I was kind of, pissed about that, though we didn't spend as much time with Hamlet because we were so focused on this one. But now I want to give this one another shot because I feel like I didn't get this one a fair shot. And the stories were actually really funny when we would talk about in class, I remember. So like I said, I'm giving this one another shot another chance to read it on my own without the, the bitter taste of wanting to read one thing and not getting to it. Okay. Again, I'm gonna have to move a little bit. And now my books are kind of messed up. They're not all neatly stacked anymore. So, okay. So, then we have... So, this was not the version of this story I had. This is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. And I also originally didn't have a book written by a son, that kind of The Lady of the Camillas, which inspired Moulin Rouge. I ended up not loving it. In fact, I was annoyed by the couple in that. And, for some reason, I just really like the Penguin one. I preferred the Penguin one over the Oxford World Classics edition. And I decided to switch them out, buy this version, and send that one, donate that, put that one in the donation pile. And that one is actually, and I got this at Given, so that's why I did it. If I don't know if I would do this at Books A Million. With Books A Million, buy this one at Books A Million because it would be a little more expensive. And this is one of my favorite classics. I love this, and I do want to reread it. So it's nice to be able to say, I have a classic that I read. And this one actually kind of fits the scene a little bit. This one fits a part of the story a little bit. The scene on there, and I just really like that cover because I don't remember liking the Oxford cover, which I know I'm always saying I'm not one of those people who prioritize the aesthetic of a book, the cover, but I do prioritize it a little bit. So we have this one. So yay, another one I can read that I've read. I just didn't read this version of it, this edition. But it's basically the same story, just a different cover and a different type setting and all that. Okay. And then we have another one. Okay, so we're finally getting to ones that I've read, at least. Treasure Island. I love this story. This will be great. I can't wait for my nephew. Although they have copies of Treasure Island, which are more kid-friendly versions. They actually have multiple copies because I think they also have those Illustrated Classics ones, the middle school type versions of classics that are they're the hardback books, they have the shiny glossy covers and they're white and they have Illustrated Classics on the top and everything. So they have read Treasure Island, they just have not read the original version. So, but I just love this. This is so much fun. And I'm glad I can say I read it. And it's actually good for the summer. But I'm not gonna, because I read this one a couple years ago, I'm gonna wait before I reread it again. I could throw it in there, I don't know. But I feel like there's classics that I haven't read that I need to read. Okay, so now we have two that I haven't read, some Russian classics. This is actually a non-fiction work. This is 10 Days That Shook the World. So it is John Reed's account of the Russian Revolution. John Reed was a journalist. And it kind of would fit with War and Peace if, I could read those two together if I wanted to. But yeah, I was really excited to read this because I want to read some more about Russia. And reading about Russia was kind of inspired by people like, Olive from Book Olive, Caroline Marie Reads, and Emmie Also, they kind of inspired me to check out some Russian classic, to get into Russian literature. And now, granted, Olive does not read a lot of, she struggles with fiction, but she reads a lot of nonfiction. I'm curious if she is familiar with this one. And then we have Chekhov's plays. Now, this is one of those things where I've heard of these. I don't know if I've read any of these. I don't know if I've read any of these, actually. At one point for school, I'm not sure. But we have The Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Three Sisters, and The Cherry Orchard. Which that one I was familiar with. Olive actually talked about The Cherry Orchard because she decided to read. There was that one that came out that was inspired by The Cherry Orchard. But it was a more recent book, more modern book. But I think it's the same setting, the same that The Cherry Orchard is, and it's about an apple orchard instead. Or actually, no, it's a little more modern, like probably more closer to the more modern history of Russia, and they are actually because they are actually reading Chekhov's play, The Cherry Orchard, and they talk about Chekhov. I do not remember what the book is called. But that's when I heard about I heard Olive talk about that book because she decided to read it because, like I said, she struggles with Russian fiction, so she was like, I think she had decided to try that one. So this is another classic that I need to read. This is another one I need to read. So at least I can say I've read this one. Okay, and then we have okay, again, have to reach over. I apologize. Okay. So now we're starting with the Dickens work. So we have David Copperfield. Again, this was not the edition I've read, but I have read this. I can say I've read it. And this is the book that's kind of autobiographical. I think. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, he describes it as his favorite child. And one of those coming age stories. And recently a book came out a couple years ago. The Demon Copperhead, which is kind of a retelling of David Copperfield, but set in America in the Appalachian. And so it's a more modern story. But I love this and I want to reread it. But again, there's Dickens books I haven't read, and one of them is our mutual friend, which is Katie from Books and Things' favorite Dickens book. And I've been meaning to read it. And I did start it, and I almost think I need to start it. I should start it now because this week it's her 10-year anniversary, and she is doing a readathon. It started yesterday, so I wonder if I should pick up this one. If I should read it, even if I don't finish it within the week, or maybe just read this book only from her. I don't know, but yeah, I might read this week. Pick this up, start reading this again this week. So those are the two of the Dickens I have in this version, in the Penguin. And then and they're not the only ones. Now, some of them are not in this Black Spine edition, but it is still Penguin. Okay, so then we have, which I just finished this one, Dombey and Son, and I love this. This is, Mr. Dombey has a business, and he's excited about his son taking over, but his son is sickly, and but he also has a daughter, and his daughter wants his love, but he just ignores her. He thinks she's worthless. She's not important. He's so dismissive of her. And this was so good, it deals with gender roles, and there's a lot of nautical stuff in here, as Emmie said in her video. She reminded me of that, because, like, you know, she has Florence Dombey's love interest is he's a sailor, and it was so good. I love this book. I enjoyed it so much. I do want to reread it, but first I need to read some Dickens I haven't read. So now we're on to non-Dickens books, and again, books I have not read. We have Anthony Trollope. Can You Forgive Her? This is his first book in the Palliser series. And it's the only one from that series that I have so far, I think. And, you know, I debate if I want to continue Trollope or not, because I do think I prefer Dickens. But I still enjoyed Trollope, but that's only loosely. That's only by a little bit. I still really like Trollope as well. And then we have another George Eliot book, you know, and that is Scenes of a Clerical Life. And I think this is about, it's 3 stories. And basically 3 stories about the lives of clergymen and their concerns and their lives. So I'm excited, you know, I keep thinking, you know, so I wonder if I should consider picking this one up. But again, this was also when the books were serialized, so, like, which, you know, it's a myth that books were paid by the word, authors were paid by the word. It's actually, you know, and again, it's short stories, like 3 short stories, so maybe, again, I should pick it up. Okay, so, one last pile. Again, I have to reach for it. Okay. Okay, so we have, here's another Dickens, and this is the TV show tie-in edition, Nicholas Nickleby. And apparently, the time when this came out, it has a lot of known actors in this, English actors in this book, in this adaptation, including and then also Anne Hathaway, not an English actor, but she was in this adaptation. And actually, this is the same guy who played in Crimson Peak. He played the other love interest of Edith in Crimson Peak, the good one that was normal and was not having a relationship with the sister. And I don't know what Nicholas Nickleby is about. You know, it's gonna be it's still gonna be pretty good as a Dickens novel, even if it's not a favorite, because I mean, even Hard Times, it's not my favorite, but it still provided a lot to think about. It was still intriguing, so I almost wish I did not give that one away. But sometimes I feel this pressure because to give away to unhaul books, and then it's hard for me to decide which ones to unhaul. So sometimes some of the books I unhaul, I end up having second thoughts later. Okay, and then we have Little Dorrit, which was a Masterpiece Theater edition, which I can't watch. Like, I saw some of these on Amazon Prime, and it was like, you either rent it or buy it. So I cannot get it. So I may as well get it, I may as well just get it off of, I'll just buy the Blu-ray or the DVD if I come across it, if I want to watch it. But anyway, and I actually don't have I have never seen any of the adaptations of, Dickens' books. Like, I've only seen, there is that one show, Dodger, but it's not technically an adaptation. It was actually a version of Dodger and Oliver and Fagin, Dodger and Oliver as adults. And, you know, in their life now. But this is Little Dorrit. this is a story about this woman's father goes into debtor's prison and she takes care of him. But it looks like from what I read in the back in the trailer of the adaptation, this particular adaptation, that there are some family secrets going on. But anyway, like I said, I want to read Our Mutual Friend first. Okay, and then we have, so far this is the only John Steinbeck that I absolutely loved. I mean, I did like Of Mice and Men, but East of Eden, and this is a special edition. This is a Penguin Centennial edition, so 10th anniversary, I guess it would be. I think that is the 10th anniversary edition, which I really like. I like the French flaps, and I'm one of those people who loves deckled edges. I mean, I can definitely understand the complaints of deckled edges, but I personally like them. And then it's so, like, I like the tree and everything, it's such a, I really just love this edition. And it's the only classic so far of Steinbeck's that I enjoy. I mean, I still have the biography of Steinbeck, and I debate about keeping it. Okay, finally we are on the last book, and I actually finished it without getting interrupted. Of course, now it's, the time I usually think about going to bed. We have Vanity Fair, and this is the Penguin English Library edition. So this is the paperback version of the cloth bounds. So the cloth bound of Vanity Fair would be, I think, the same cover as this. And as you can see, I did start this one. I got this in, it's a UK. I got this in the actual Waterstones. So I can say I bought this at Waterstones along with another book. And although to this day, I still kind of wish I had bought only one book and then waited until we got to Bath to go to that bookstore. But then we only had like an hour there because that was also when we did the tour of Windsor Castle and Stonehenge, and I kind of would have loved to spend more time at Bath, but we are hoping at some point to go to Ireland and Scotland, so be able to get books there. And it would be so cool to be able to say, just like I have 2 books from the UK, a Waterstones, and particularly a Waterstones, I can also say I hope to one day be able to say that I have 2 books from bookstores in either Ireland, one of the cities in Ireland, or one of the cities in Scotland. It'd be so awesome to say that. But anyway, so this is the last book. And this last book I have not read out of my Penguin versions. And I'm looking forward to having to put all these back. But anyway, so those are all my Penguin books. As you can see, I have more Penguin books than I've actually read of my Penguin collection. And I need to read some of these. But, and I will at some point over time. But anyway, so that is my Penguin. Those of you who have read classics, do you have any of the Penguins? Any of the Penguin editions or any other editions? Is there a favorite of if you do collect Penguin editions, is there a favorite one of yours? I would love to know. I don't have a favorite myself. I'm just trying to come up with a question to ask you guys. So, what did you think? Or out of the ones I've shown you, I mean, you didn't really I don't know if you got a good look at them or not, but maybe you could tell me which one of were any of these your favorites? I would love to know, favorite cover or just favorite book in general. I'd love to know. If you hated any of these, please do not tell me. I still want to read. My goal is to read all these. At least, I intend to, but I don't know if I will or not. But I don't want to know if you hated any of these. I don't want to know. But if you loved any of them, I want to know that at least. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I don't know what my next one will be. Whether I'll do like the Oxford World Classics or the Barnes and Noble Classics. Like, those are the ones that I probably have the most books from, and then the rest are kind of I guess vintage. I have a handful of vintage editions, But the rest of them, I don't know. They're all random. So I will probably show you, I probably will also have a part that focuses on my more random ones, random editions as well. But anyway, I hope you like this video. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.